Hello and welcome to Revenge of the Drive-In, the podcast where we watch, review, and discuss two movies randomly selected from a list of over 3,000. We've got a couple of Asian martial arts action movies. We've got from Thailand, The Raid from 2011 or 2012, also known as The Raid Redemption for some reason, and Snake in the Eagle's Shadow from Hong Kong from 1978, an early Jackie Chan movie.
I think I was reading, this wasn't too long after Drunken Master, right?
I think it was the same year. It might have been made before, because that Drunken Master's the same director.
Okay.
But yeah, anyways, I am your host, Patrick, and I am joined by this interrupting asshole.
Oh, how so very dare you. My name's Jim. How are you, Patrick?
I'm great. Jim, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Now, you probably haven't seen Hong Kong Godfather yet. It was in our last episode, but with Hong Kong Godfather and Battle Royale and these two movies and what we've got next week, how do you feel about this podcast slowly becoming, this season, an Asian action movie podcast?
I am totally fine with it.
Yeah, this is not by design. These are randomly selected. I am more than okay with it because even though I had seen The Raid before, this is for the most part a genre. It's a genre that I want to get more into, and then this podcast is kind of forcing me to get into. But I'm not an unwilling participant.
This is kind of like a nice happy accident because, and I was actually thinking this, it's kind of nice that Bruce Lee died because I really like Jackie Chan. But yeah, I love Jackie Chan and I like his style.
It is a different style.
Yeah, he's very fluid and he moves a lot more than Bruce Lee did, whereas Bruce Lee was solid.
You know, I mean, you're contradicting Bruce Lee's most famous quote, "Be like water." Yeah. You know, Bruce Lee was pretty into being fluid as well.
Yeah, but then when you watch him in some of his most famous movies, he doesn't seem to be as kind of loosey-goosey.
Jackie's more
Jackie
acrobatic.
Chan. Yes, and that's
I
exactly
think
where I
that's
was
a good term
with
for
this.
it. And eventually, I don't know if it really applies to this movie here, but Jackie Chan, in addition to being a spectacular martial artist, is the world's greatest stuntman also. And we'll see that later this season, actually. We do have another Jackie Chan movie coming up eventually. So, a movie where he almost died doing a stunt. So, no, Jackie Chan's amazing. We're going to sing his praises throughout this episode, for sure.
Though, I saw a video the other day, and I almost sent it to you. Nothing against Jackie Chan here, but I watched this 5-minute video of him in various interviews talking about how he doesn't trust women, and how he doesn't have female friends, and how he gives his wife an allowance. And
Okay, Sean Connery fan. Let's hear about your moral stance on
No, I'm not necessarily...
feminism.
I'm not necessarily against what he was saying, because he kind of tied it all back into...
You're making it worse.
No, hold on, stop. I'm going to dig myself out of this hole. I have to go deeper to come out. He tied it into the fact that he has 5 or 7 friends or something like that were all wealthy from their own fame, and their wives had just used them to get money. They had married them and then divorced them within a matter of years and then took half of their fortune. Yeah, so I kind of understand that aspect, but Jackie Chan's I don't let her out in public, I don't bring her to social events, and I give her an allowance, and that's the weird part. The Sean Connery thing is more kind of funny.
Mike Pence Chan, that's what we call him. Jackie Chan actually has become a somewhat controversial figure because he's been even though he's from Hong Kong, his career was made in Hong Kong, he's become very friendly with the Chinese government. A lot of people think he's kind of turned his back on Hong Kong and their struggles. There's a whole political thing that I don't really know that much about, so I'm not prepared to get into that. All I do know is that Jackie Chan was named in the Panama Papers, which no one seems to care about anymore. But that was, you remember that? It was a bunch of people dodging taxes, including Emma Watson, and I don't remember who else was on there.
If you're going to hide your money to not pay taxes, I totally get it,
But as far as leaked documents go, Jackie Chan's doing a little bit better than his Rush Hour co-star. Let's put it that way. So all of this having been said, let's start with The Raid. This is a film Again, I've seen 2012, but I'm also seeing 2011. It's Indonesian. It's directed by Gareth Evans, who is a Welsh director. I don't know much about him. I was thinking it was the guy that did the Godzilla movie and eventually a Star Wars movie, but no, that's Gareth Edwards. But Gareth Evans was like, I want to say kind of like a struggling director. I think he had done like commercials, some short films, and then his breakthrough was he went to Thailand to do some movie. I think it might have even been a documentary about some Thai martial art. And it's through this that he met the Raid star Iko Uwais, whatever his name is. Mm-hmm. The lead role in The Raid, which has gone on to be, as far as foreign language films go, a very popular and influential action film. Mm-hmm. People point a lot of direct lines from this to like a John Wick.
Yeah, Dread, the Dread movie, they came out in like 2014 or whenever it did. Almost the same.
I think it was even earlier than that. Yeah, that one, that might be coincidental because Dread was probably being shot when this movie came out. So the film also stars Al Leong, or at least Thailand's version of him. Was it Mad Dog?
Oh yes, yeah. Oh, dude, I loved him. He was great.
I mean, I had seen this movie before, but it's been 10 years. And when he first shows up, I thought it was like a reference to like 80s action movies. I thought it's like, oh, let's get an Al Leong lookalike. And then he turns out to be one of the main characters, or you know, he gets a lot of screen time, and he's incredible at the martial arts. And so it's just a coincidence that he looks like 80s and 90s action icon Al Leong. It's kind of odd. What's his name is Yayan Ruyan, and again, I'm sure I'm pronouncing all of these names wrong.
I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce them, or pronounce the names in the next movie either.
And he is, again, this is another reason why I thought Gareth Evans, this director, was Gareth Edwards, because the Thai Al Leong lookalike is in Star Wars The Force Awakens. He's like a gang member that's trying to take back Han Solo's killer jellyfish or whatever that he smuggles.
Oh yeah, it's like at the beginning of the movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or when Han Solo is introduced to the movie.
But anyways, that's my last attempt at any actor names here, guys. Don't worry. So we get this. The movie starts. We get kind of a slap together heart to the movie, if you will, where we see Rama, who's the main character, kind of at home with his wife, and he's, you know, it's like cliche, and this is like the last time you see a woman in the movie, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, this is the thing, because this is trying to be a very, very contained movie, one location. But you want to know at least a little bit about at least one character, at least our main character. We want to know a little bit more about him, and, you know, they had to do it, I guess.
Yeah, and it's funny, though, because, you know, we've gone, you know, 10 plus years since this came out, and as we mentioned earlier, it's influenced so many things, and like as soon as it opened, I was like, oh, it's got a John Wick opening, and I'd seen The Raid a long time ago, but now that it has had an influence of 10 years on movie culture, you're like, oh, it's the John Wick opening, great. You know.
By the way, it just occurred to me recently, you know, John Wick, we covered that for our podcast, we're both fans of it. It just occurred to me that it has the exact same plot as Unforgiven. So I think I've lost some respect for John Wick, because Unforgiven, he's this former badass whose wife dies, and then he's living a life outside of that, but then he's drawn into it. I guess he gets drawn into a life of crime a little bit differently, but when he goes all out, it's because his friend is killed, and, you know, friend versus dog. You know, I'd prefer a dog to Morgan Freeman any day, but, you know. So all that having been said, we've got basically, I'll just call them a SWAT team, because that would be the Western equivalent here. Mm-hmm. We've got a SWAT team moving in on this shitty, dilapidated apartment tower, which is run by a gang led by Tama Riyadi, who's this, like, I guess he's a drug lord, and he just, like, lets unsavory characters hang out at his building. He's had control of this, like, block for who knows how long, and now it's the police's time to stop that. And they're in the back of the truck. During this briefing, Rama asks Jaka is the guy in charge,
He's like a lieutenant or something, isn't he?
He asks him, like, why us and why now? And he gets like a bit of a stern talking to in reaction to that question, but it kind of foreshadows that this isn't this super well thought out plan. It is to Jaka, but he doesn't know everything that the undercover guy knows. And the undercover guy is really the one who set it up, but the undercover guy did not go through the proper procedures to inform other people. So we learn about a third of the way through the movie that these guys are on their own. There's no possibility of reinforcements because nobody knows they're there. The SWAT team kind of splits up into two groups, and they go about securing the building, like floor by floor. You know, they're trying to be as quiet as possible when they come up on somebody, even if it's like, you know, a civilian, a non-combatant, they have to silence the guy or whatever, including there's a gentleman trying to get into the building who is, I want to say he's a doctor. He's not a doctor. He just happens to have medicine because he's got he's got a sick wife. There's one overzealous SWAT team guy that like threatens to kill him, and Rama steps in and is like, hey, just stick by me, I'll protect you, like we'll get you up to your room, obviously stick with me because we got some weirdos in this group. And it is largely a group of rookies too, that's established, because who's the guy, I can't think of the name, the kind of the undercover guy who organized it, the guy who looks kind of European, he looks like kind of Spanish or something.
It's not Andy, right? Is it? No.
Andy?
No.
Fuck, did you watch a dubbed version again? God damn it.
No, I watched the right one.
You watched Toy Story?
There is an Andy. It's one of the two guys, but I'm getting him confused.
I think it's YU. Pierre Gruno is the actor's name. That one I'll pronounce because I feel like I'm not butchering that. I looked him up out of curiosity. I'm like, is he just like a European guy that was just living in Thailand and they threw in this movie? No, he is Thai, but like, you know, he, like I said, he looks kind of like he'd be Spanish or Italian, maybe Chilean. But yeah, he's like, oh, you know, I don't want to lose my neck because we got a bunch of rookies on this case. And, you know, Jaka's like, hey, they're as well-trained as can be, like, relax. But then meanwhile, YU is the guy who fucked everything up. So, like, why is he complaining? And who knows? But so I said he fucked everything up because initially he did not go through the proper protocols, that this is a doomed mission, or again, a mission with no possibility of reinforcements. He also screws up big time because he shoots a kid. Now, the kid did spot them and was going to run to warn people.
Great scene. It's like the kid has just woken up from a nap or something, and he walks out into the hallway.
I think he gets out of the bathroom.
The camera just turns, and you have like 20 SWAT guys all pointing their guns at this
kid.
And
it takes a while for him to notice that they're looking at him, and then when he sees them, he just kind of stares at them. And they're trying to, like, okay, easy, you know, lower the guns. But then he just yells, policia, or whatever.
Yeah, like he runs through the door, and the lieutenant shoots him. And then he yells, police! And then the bullet, like,
hits him in the neck.
Hits him right in the neck. Yeah, it's so cool.
And then there's another boy that sees this, and then he runs, and he pulls, like, an alarm. So after this is when they kind of shut everything down. Initially, he gets out a sniper team, and they basically just take out the people in the other group.
Mm-hmm. He calls them the neighbors, which is cool too.
Yeah, some of the people who had been previously detained, some of the like quote unquote non-combatants now free themselves. There's one guy who's got his like arms, or he's got his like wrists tied, but he's under the table, and he reaches and grabs like a machete that's like taped on the table, and then he does this like thing where he dislocates his shoulders to like free himself. It's pretty cool.
I guess we should mention, like, when they get into the building, I forget how many floors they said there were, but I think they pass through, like, the first 4 floors pretty quickly. Like, they're arresting people left and right.
Yeah, I don't think they're arresting them so much as just, like, detaining them so that they don't get in the way.
And then it's when they get to the 5th floor that they run into this kid.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's on the 5th floor because I think the wife is on the 6th floor.
Yeah.
I don't remember when, but apparently that guy just gets up to his room. Do they let him go? I don't really remember that.
Rama brings him up to the room. At some point, they get up to the 6th floor, and I don't remember how, but he gets into his room, I guess off camera, I'm pretty sure.
So after the snipers have taken out, again, like half the group, then we get this announcement from the big bad guy, and they shut out all the lights, and he announces, you know, there's like 2 parts to the announcement. It's 1, you guys are screwed, and 2... anyone who lives in this building will get to be a member if they kill someone or whatever. So
they'll get free rent forever.
Yeah, he's engaging all of the he's trying to get all the non-combatants to be combatants. And that part really doesn't pay off because it doesn't really matter if the people attacking them are gang members or not. I guess the only thing is that maybe it's an added layer of suspense when Rama goes up to the room of the guy with the sick wife. And that might be my favorite scene in the movie, by the way.
Oh, yeah, where they're in the wall up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
The guy with the sick wife, by the way, apparently he was a very successful comedian in Thailand, and there was hesitation about like casting him in this role. It's like, will people be able to take him seriously? Watching it without that context of I don't know who this actor is, like I take him seriously 100%.
Yeah,
no issues. I'm trying to think of the equivalent if that would be like, I don't know, Jason Segel or something. I'm just throwing a name out there. I don't know.
Well, it's kind of like John Candy, except I guess John Candy worked out as like a serious actor.
JFK, I guess.
When he was in like Uncle Buck and stuff, you know.
Uncle Buck's a comedy. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, but he's playing serious parts in it.
The comedies can have heart.
Okay.
Not everything's Caddyshack.
Not everything's
like just
John
goofball
Candy. That's the
comedy.
point of this.
I know it is, but yeah, you should have gone with JFK. JFK actually plays a serious role in that.
Okay. Okay. I also love Uncle Buck.
So your self-proclaimed John Candy fandom does not even equal mine, and I don't even claim to be a John Candy fan because I at least can name JFK. But yeah, so they shut off the lights, and then what was it that kind of? So there's like one brief thing that illuminates the shadows.
When he did tell the residents of the building that they could kill the cops and get free rent forever, immediately lots of residents took up arms. There's a cop shuffling around and he thinks he sees a person and he shoots, and it's a really cool shot where like,
that's what it is.
He shoots his gun in slow-mo, and then you can see that like the burst from the shotgun lights up where all the cops are hiding, and then it just smash cuts to a bunch of residents of the building holding machine guns, and then they just start
like a floor or two above.
Yeah, and they just start killing all the cops on the floor below them.
Mm-hmm.
Just executing them in this stairwell.
Also worth noting that when Tama was looking at the security cameras, he recognized Yu, and he's like, oh, he's the one behind this, and I guarantee he didn't get backup or whatever, so we're going to be just fine. Because like some of his advisors are like, we can't just kill them, like, you know, people are going to come looking for them, and he's like, no, they won't, because he knows who organized it.
Yeah,
and then he's like, we'll just treat it like any other gang. Yeah, well, no, not the lieutenant, the non-uniformed guy.
Oh, yes, okay.
Who I said was undercover. I'm not 100% sure that's true, but...
Well, there's all kinds of twists and turns in this movie, and it got a little confusing for me.
It is neat as we see, like, the gang disposing of the bodies, just, like, taking them, dragging them down the hall, or down the road and stuff, and, and then they take out, of course, the guy driving the van.
Mm-hmm.
There's also another character who's in the boss's inner circle who recognizes Rama on the security camera. Okay, this is Andy.
Yes,
and it is spelled differently. Andy. Okay. Andy is Rama's long-lost older brother. So which we don't learn for a while until they like literally run into each other, but like he sees this, he has some kind of reaction to Rama on the security camera, and it's this scene. It's when they're like huddled by the wall getting shot at. But then later on, Andy is in the elevator with two other gang members, and then he just kills them. And you're like, why did he do that? And it's because he's trying to protect his brother, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think at the beginning of the movie, when he walked up to the lieutenant, remember he said something like, I'm going to bring him home?
Do you mean the lieutenant, or do you mean the other guy? Because you've been throwing that word around a lot.
I don't know. The gray-haired guy.
Jaka's the sergeant. You're talking about the Spaniard. Yeah, he is a lieutenant, okay.
That's who I'm thinking of, yeah. But he says, I'm going to bring him home at the beginning, even before they get to the apartment complex. So you kind of know something's going on there, but you're not really sure. And then you don't really know Andy's reasons for doing anything until he meets with Rama. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's whole, yeah.
Yeah, and you keep talking about it like it's confusing. It's absolutely not confusing.
Okay.
It's very easy to follow.
Okay.
So eventually, like, the remaining cops get into this, like, apartment, and they're like trapped there, and they're getting shot at from the windows too. One of Rama's friends gets shot, but Rama finds a way through like a trap door, and then so they basically just go to a different floor. And he eventually takes his buddy, and he gets up to that 6th floor. He gets to the apartment with the sick wife, but not before he has to kill about 40 people in the hallway, which is incredible.
Is it the same scene where he grabs somebody by the head and then jumps backwards through a broken door and stabs him in the throat with the broken door?
I think that's just after this. I think that's after the scene with the sick wife. But I could be wrong. That was pretty awesome. Yeah, because he like kicks the door in, and so they're like the bottom of the door is just like exposed sharp wood, and then he just grabs the guy by the neck and jumps and like does like an elbow drop where he like falls on and the other guy falls.
Oh, it's so awesome.
Neck first. And it should be said that this movie is incredibly violent. Any of you squeamish viewers out there, I mean, in general, Asian cinema, and we've talked about this. Asian cinema tends to be extreme, whether it's horror, whether it's action. It goes a little further than American films in the same genres tend to. And this is a good example of that, because like even John Wick's R-rated, it's violent. John Wick's nothing like this.
Yeah, this seems to be somehow more brutal. And I'm not sure how exactly, because in John Wick there's like lots of blood and you get like lots of close-up shots of people being killed.
I don't think there's a lot of blood in John Wick. I think there's some blood.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a ton of blood.
I think here the shots linger a little bit, like just briefly, on somebody getting shot in the neck, and then you'll linger on like the hole in their neck and them sliding to the ground, you know?
I will say where this movie seems to have a direct influence on John Wick is the hand-to-hand combat turned up-close pistol shot to the face or chest. That's like John Wick's signature move. He'll be like fighting a guy, even though he's like holding a gun. He'll just like punch him, karate chop him, kick him, and then like up close, he'll just like push the gun into him and fire. And they do that a few times in this movie, not as often as they do in John Wick, but I took note of that. So, anyways, back to the raid. We get to this apartment. The man is very hesitant to let Rama in. And again, Rama's got his dying friend. But he eventually does let him in, basically just kind of showing mercy, because it's like, yeah, he had shown mercy to him earlier. And he hides him in like a false wall. Mm-hmm. And moments later, well, I guess because a couple of bad guys come up, and they see that, the hallway, obviously good guys have been here. There's 200 dead bodies. So they just go apartment by apartment, and they come into this apartment. And, there's numerous threats made against both the man and his wife. And eventually the bad guy starts stabbing through the wall with his machete. Meanwhile, there are two people there, and they are being as still and as quiet as possible, and they are crunched up in the absolute back corner that they can be, and the last stab through the wall grazes Rama's cheek, and the guy keeps it there. He keeps the machete there. So it's like this machete is just like pressed against this guy's cheek, and there's blood, and if he were to pull the machete out, which he eventually does, he would see blood on it. Of course, he doesn't notice that. But what a tense scene. This is, like I said, this is my favorite scene in the movie. This is, you say what you will about all the great choreography, the great martial arts, the great action in this movie. When I first saw this movie, this was the scene I remembered.
For me, it was the realization of, oh shit, he got him in the cheek. How was he going to escape this? And then you see Rama bring his hand up slowly, so that when the machete is pulled out of the wall, his fingers wick all the blood off of the blade.
Oh, okay. Is that what that was about?
Yeah, which is kind of neat. And you're like, oh, wow, thank God he's going to get out of this.
Yeah, and he does. And it's like, it's shortly after these bad guys leave, then the good guys leave, and then the bad guys, I think, realize that they must have been in that room. And then so they go back. And then there is a fight. And again, I think this is where that door to the neck scene that you were talking about happens. Eventually, Jaka, the guy who's kind of in charge here, has a big fight with Mad Dog, the Al Leong lookalike, who's, other than maybe the main actor, he appears to be the most accomplished martial artist in the cast. This fight is great. He kicks Jaka's ass, and I'm trying to remember, I don't remember exactly what happens yet, but Rama does meet up with the others, or he meets up with Wayu at least, because there's a fun action scene in like the storage section of the apartment that's just kind of like a warehouse. That scene's really great too. I mean, if you boil it down, we get eventually Jaka and Rama against Mad Dog, and Mad Dog it was set up on the van on the way. Jaka talked about the main bad guy and how he had two right-hand men, and Mad Dog was one. I can't remember the other one. I don't remember the
Andy.
other one really being. Was that Andy? Okay.
Yeah, it's Andy.
Okay, yeah, and they talked about Mad Dog as being like particularly brutal, and there's a really great flashback scene where he sees that he's just like executing like 8 people, and he shoots like one by one by one, runs out of bullets with one left, puts the gun in the guy's mouth, and like or puts it on his shoulder, and is like, here, let me, I'll be back in a second, just hold on to this. And the guy's like crying, he's got his mouth duct taped, he's got his hands cuffed or whatever. He goes into the drawer, opens it, a bunch of bullets slide out, but he reaches past the bullets and pulls out like a hammer.
Yeah,
and
it's brutal.
and it cuts right when the swing is about to hit him. But that's a really great scene. That does so much to show us who Mad Dog is, this, again, Al Leong character. But yeah, so there's this really awesome fight between Rama, Jaka, and Mad Dog. And again, maybe Mad Dog is the best martial artist in the film because it takes 2 people to take him out. And eventually there are items used because he gets like stabbed with, was it a wooden thing or a metal thing? He gets like stabbed in the neck. And then but he's still fighting. And then he's like finished off when Rama eventually like pulls it and basically just, I hesitate to even say slit because that's usually a small cut, but just tears open his throat, I guess. Right? I mean,
yeah,
that's what it is.
That's a great way to describe it, yeah.
And I think while all this is going down, Wayu captures Tama, the boss. He's holding him at gunpoint, and he does shoot him, and then he's going to go shoot himself, but he's out of bullets, so eventually, the good guys get out, and they're walking with him handcuffed. I don't know if it's handcuffed because he's just killed a man without a trial, or if it's because he killed the kid, or if it's because he authorized this unauthorized police raid. He screws up a lot of ways. It's actually interesting that they let him kill the bad guy.
Yeah.
There's this personal relationship between Wayu and Tama that I don't think really translated all that well, but there is something going on there.
I agree with you. Again, I found it a little confusing. Lots of names were being thrown around, and I don't want to sound racist, but a lot of people kind of looked the same, and I kept getting confused.
Well, not Wayu. Wayu looks Chilean.
No, you're right. Yeah, he looks different. But yeah, I didn't understand entirely everything that was happening, and this is like the second time I'd seen this movie. But whatever was happening, somebody was up to some shady business, and they were a secret bad guy. Isn't that what? I keep on forgetting his name.
Wayu.
No, the lieutenant. Isn't he a secret
Wayu?
bad guy? Yeah, him. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. But again, he does kill the main bad guy. It's like, okay, does he do that to cover his ass, or does he do that to
But he'd been having like these
himself?
backdoor deals with them and stuff, and he was the whole reason they went on the raid and killed a bunch of cops. So I get why he's in handcuffs.
Anyways, that is the end of the raid. Jim, what did you think of it?
Well, Patrick, I think it's a fantastic movie, and Hollywood does too, because they have copied it in lots of different ways.
Why are you talking like this?
I don't know. I really enjoy it. I think
Danger, Will Robinson.
really, like, if you want to sit down and watch just like an action-packed, cool, I guess, gun-fu Thai martial art movie, watch this. It's awesome. It's full of people getting shot, people getting kicked and stabbed and thrown through windows and exploded and set on fire and stuff like that. It's just an exciting thrill ride. It doesn't even feel like a movie, really. I don't want to compare it to like an amusement park ride, but it really kind of is. You sit down for this awesome ride of a movie. And then, and it's a little exhausting afterwards. You're like, wow, that was nuts.
Exhausting. I'll give you that. But yeah, this is a very good movie. Now, I've heard this talked about as if it's one of the best action movies ever, or maybe the best action movie ever. I don't think it is. I don't believe it's in that conversation. There are a handful of action movies from this century that I prefer to this. And no, Mad Max Fury Road isn't one of them, because that's also in that conversation, and it's not for me. I still think The Bourne Ultimatum is like one of the best action movies ever. There's a handful of others that I can't think of at the moment.
Hot Fuzz.
That's a different thing, though. I mean, I do think that's a great movie. I might like that even more than The Bourne Ultimatum. RRR, great movie.
Oh, I haven't even seen it yet, but isn't it also like 3 hours long?
It is, but that's just what Indian movies do. That's just what they are.
That's just what they are.
And that's I see that. That's actually even if you know it's a good movie, it's a better action movie than you probably think it is. The action in that is very, very good. And we're getting in a tangent here. I mean, The Raid is good. The Raid, you keep saying there's all this shit going on and it's complicated and stuff. This is a very simple story, and it's near perfect execution of the story. If I were to compare this movie to something that existed before it, we've done some John Wick comparisons and comparisons with movies that have probably been influenced by this, but I think of Die Hard. And as far as, this is Die Hard done in an Asian style with faster pacing, more 21st century action movie pacing as opposed to the 1980s. But I would compare it to Die Hard. Now, what Die Hard has that this doesn't have is Die Hard has a far more charismatic and likable lead character. Nothing against Rama, but he's pretty standard. Mm-hmm. As movie protagonists go, or action movie protagonists. He's fine. He gets the job done. I actually think the relationship with the brother, Andy, we didn't really talk about it much. I felt like for that to even be in the movie, I feel like they needed to get something more out of that. It was kind of underwhelming. I think they could have written that out.
Yeah, I mean, because that really culminates in him almost being killed by Tama, right? And then at the end of the movie, Andy walks back into the apartment building and instead of going home with Rama, right? He's like, I can't survive out in the world.
This is a really good movie, though. Like, I have some complaints, and the complaints are mostly minor. The thing that I don't think we spent enough time on just is how good the choreography is. The action choreography, whether it involves gun or whether it involves fists. It's all really good. And that's among the highlights of the film. I do think I still say the best scene of the movie is when they're hiding in the wall. But the actual hand-to-hand combat stuff is incredible. Also, shout out to Mad Dog, Yayan Ruyan, a.k.a. Al Leong lookalike. He's amazing. I would not ever want to meet that man because he could kill me in an instant,
Yeah, he's terrifying.
He's one of the most terrifying movie villains I've come across in quite a while, I think.
Yeah, especially in that scene where he just kind of snaps what's-his-face's neck, and drops him to the floor. Mm-hmm. Just great. He was just subtly, well, not even subtly, I guess, but he was just terrifying. There was also the scene where wasn't it him that walked up to Andy at the elevator and he had the cop's body or the SWAT guy's body with him, and he was like, I'm taking this up to the boss, and Andy's like, he's already dead. He goes, yeah, what's your point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's great.
If I had any complaint, again, I think this is a great movie. It's a lot of fun. I don't have any actual major complaints. My only complaint is in the action scenes where there was a lot of stuff going on, the camera just shook way too much for me. It was actually making me a little nauseous. There was, and the one moment
I didn't pick up on that. I thought, because I've seen movies that do that. I mentioned the Bourne Ultimatum earlier. Paul Greengrass is the founding father of shaky cam action scenes.
Well, there was really only one scene in particular that actually made me feel nauseous, and it was when all the cops, or all the SWAT people, or whatever you want to call them, are stuck in that apartment. I think it's already after they've gone through the floor into the apartment below them, and they're just fighting, and they're trying to move the fridge, and there's lots of things going on, and the camera just keeps on shaking from left to right and panning across the room, and I was like, holy shit. I feel sick. But other than that, I thought the movie was great. I think it's a great movie.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think this is quite as good as I remembered it. And I want to say, I could be wrong, but I think The Raid 2 is very highly spoken of, and I think that might even be held in higher regard than this. I could be wrong. Maybe it was just like when the Raid 2 came out, that's when more people were taking notice of the Raid, the original, and maybe it was just they were talking about that one, but I thought they were talking about the second one as like the best action movie ever. I don't know. Also worth harping on what is up with the title, or the American title, or the English title, whatever.
Oh, I looked it up while we were talking. Sony couldn't get the rights to just the name The Raid.
Okay.
So they had to go with The Raid Redemption.
I would have gone with any other title, though. The Raid Redemption makes it sound like a sequel, like it's a sequel to a movie
agree.
called The Raid.
Though
I understand some characters are redeemed. Andy's redeemed. The movie's also not about Andy. Like, I'm sorry, it's just not.
Though when the name was changed, Gareth Evans said something along the lines of, "Oh, this is great because this will open the door to more sequels. Like we can just add sequel names to it, but you could have done that anyways. The second one could have been The Raid Redemption.
Anything with it's in response to something else, and in this case, it's response to something that didn't exist beforehand. So it's just a bad title. I don't whatever, but I guess it makes sense if it was like a legal issue. But I still think they could have come up with a better title. Apartment Raid. That sounds pretty generic. It sounds like that Eddie Murphy movie Tower Heist.
Yes, yeah,
but,
yeah.
Which was the most generic title I've ever heard. It's like, what? That's a movie? I don't know.
Wasn't it like a comedy too?
Yeah, well, Eddie Murphy. It's a hardcore sex film. Eddie Murphy doesn't do comedies. Well, he hasn't for a while. Beverly Hills Cop 4 or whatever it's called coming out. Axel F coming out July 3rd in a Netflix server near you. We may have to do a YouTube video on that. I am so fucking excited for it. It's probably going to be terrible.
Do you think Judge Reinhold's going to be in it?
He is in it. He's in the trailer. So is the other guy. Serge is back, which is exciting for me. Serge, the gay guy who makes coffee with a lemon twist. And here's the thing, too, with Beverly Hills Cop. I love that first movie. You know that. We did a commentary track for it on our Patreon. I'm a huge fan of that movie. I'm not really familiar with the sequels. I saw Beverly Hills Cop 2 like once a long time ago. I just remember Judge Reinhold's obsessed with guns.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And Beverly Hills Cop 3 is like famously one of the worst movies ever because Eddie Murphy did not want to be funny. He wanted to make it like a serious movie, and director John Landis is like, "Hey, buddy, come on, you're Eddie Murphy." And Eddie
you're a fucking
no, I'm not.
You're the most famous comedian.
You're the funniest person on earth. Like, what are you doing? So like, chances are Axel F is bad, maybe very bad, but I have a rule and it applies to certain people. Certain people, and Eddie Murphy is one of these people. Eddie Murphy's a genius, comedy-wise. Or he's just incredibly talented, whatever it is you want to say. You gotta trust the talent.
Yeah.
Now, it's wronged us more often than not this century, really. But to me, Eddie Murphy is he's so talented, he's always capable of the next one could be good. Mm-hmm. He has the benefit of the doubt. Dolomite Is My Name was good. So there's that.
All the Shrek movies were fine.
No, they weren't. There's one good Shrek movie, one okay Shrek movie, and two awful ones.
Yeah, you're right.
I've never even seen Shrek the 4 or whatever it's called, Shrek Forever After. Never even seen that. I just know it's terrible because Shrek the 3rd was like unwatchable. I nearly left the theater, and that was before I could drive, so I almost walked home.
I will agree with you. The first two Shreks were good. Well, the first one was great. The second one was good.
First one's good. The second one is okay.
Listen.
There has not been a great Shrek film. Don't do this to me.
Listen,
Shrek
when the song
is okay.
Stop it. When the song "I Need a Hero" comes on, I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero.
That's the problem I have with the Shrek movies, though. It's like they rely on pop songs for their emotions. That's lazy.
Yeah, but it was so cool, though. And then the giant Gingy, his attack is holding the drawbridge back, and they pour the boiling milk on him, and then his arms come off, but Shrek and Donkey make it, and same with little Gingy and Puss in Boots. And then Puss jumps off the horse, and he's like, "Don't worry,
listen,
my
I've
friends."
seen the movie. It's
yeah,
not that
it's awesome.
Great.
Let's get back to the Raid, though, because actually I wanted to say something. Two things. I brought up Dread earlier. Dread came out in 2012, so the same year that the Raid was released in America.
Jim, I'll let you in on a secret.
Yeah.
I know a lot of things that I don't always say that I know because sound
it makes
weird
for a better...
if I... No. Well, not even in the podcast sense, but like the second you mentioned Dread, I'm like, oh, that movie came out in 2012. I knew that, but you said 2014, and I'm like, oh, I think it was earlier. I knew it was 2012, but I have to, just because people think I'm a fucking weirdo if I just like know all of the
It's okay, buddy. I'll always think you're a fucking weirdo. So just say it.
But I mean, listen, this is I don't know. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying I the Dread comparisons may have been coincidental because I'm willing to bet that movie was in production.
Well, when
this movie was released in the Western world.
But the final thing I want to say about The Raid was you had said that it wasn't as good as you remembered, and I thought the same way. But I'm just wondering if it's because we are so used to seeing that kind of style of action in movies now, that in 2011, when it came out, a lot of people hadn't seen action like that, so we were all like, holy shit, this is the best fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
That could be. Again, that goes back to the John Woo, early American John Woo, like Face Off and, that stuff. Like, John Woo had these movies in Hong Kong. John Woo's career goes back to, like, the 70s, I think. Like, he had a couple of breakthrough movies in, like, the 80s and early 90s.
Did you ever play the John Woo video game?
No. And then America snatches him up and forces him to make films for English-speaking audiences. And there's a few years where the action was, like, truly unique. But it also wore thin because, I don't know, maybe you didn't have the best scripts to work with, and you get The Matrix, and action is kind of influenced by that too. But, like, I don't know. Yeah, what you're saying is possible. Like, that might be true.
John Woo, he's Chinese, right?
He's a Hong Kong filmmaker, so I assume actually he might be. I'm tempted to say he's Taiwanese or Malaysian or something like that. Or maybe I'm thinking of... No, he's from Guangzhou, so he's from mainland China. Is Chow Yun Fat? Chow Yun Fat is from Hong Kong. Someone's from Malaysia.
Not Jackie Chan.
Oh, Michelle Yeoh is. That's what I was thinking of. Who's in... I actually don't know if she's in a John Woo movie. She's in Crouching Tiger, which is with Chow Yun Fat, so that's what I was thinking of.
Well, speaking of Chinese, let's get to our next movie.
Speaking of Hong Kong,
yes, you're right.
It's important to note because Hong Kong is a British principality at this time.
Yeah,
up
when
until
did it stop? 89?
The release of Rush Hour, the wonderful historical document that film is.
Now, do you think when all the actors and stage people and everybody flew there, Chris Tucker flew on the Lolita Express?
Yeah, you got to... I don't know the fuel range of that thing, but quite possibly.
So, what's this movie called again? Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. From
It's the last line of the movie.
78. I know, which I love.
By the way, I watched a dub version of this movie, I will say, and just because I couldn't find a subtitled version.
This I watched on YouTube, totally for free in Canada. You can just Google YouTube it, and the whole movie's there. It's decent, It's as decent as a Hong Kong movie from 1978 can look.
Yeah, this is disappointing. This was on Tubi like a couple weeks ago, and then it just disappeared from there. And it's like I literally started watching it. I started watching it on Tubi, paused it, and I'm like, okay, we won't be recording for a while. And then when we're ready to record, let me go back, and then it's gone. It's just wiped from existence.
Damn you, Tubi. Fickle bitch. But anyways, as we've said, this is a Hong Kong movie, martial arts movie, very big, very influential, very cool, very much cool, and stars Jackie Chan. This is one of his earlier roles. We spoke about this at the beginning of this podcast. It was like this and Drunken Master. I think I actually looked it up, and they credited this as one of the movies that kind of shot him to international stardom, but probably more so Drunken Master.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it was international stardom at this point. I think that comes with the police story movies, maybe, and then I think the international stardom kind of... it's interesting. At one point or another, they were clearly grooming Jackie Chan to be a Hollywood star because then eventually he started doing his own English dub. He doesn't do that here.
Well, originally, weren't they grooming him to be like the new Bruce Lee?
Well, sure. But they do that with every martial arts movie. Bruce Lee was being groomed to be the next Bruce Lee.
Bruce Fake.
Yeah, everyone but Sonny Chiba. Sonny Chiba had his own identity of just badass, mean
being a badass
man.
and punching people so hard that it showed x-rays of their body.
Or just punching people's teeth out, which his teeth get punched out here. It's not nearly as violent.
That actually happened in real life. He actually lost a tooth in this movie when that actor actually kicked him in the face. But, yeah. So this movie's very 70s in the sense that it has a great, really cool 70s opening of Jackie Chan just doing martial arts moves.
Enter the Ninja did a similar thing like this.
Yeah. And he looks super cool. It's a very 70s tune. And before we get into it, there's like the style's called Snake Fist. But every time they do it in the movie, other than like in fight scenes, it just looks like he's dancing with his arms. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there is the King Tut style. That's like that. Where you hold your arms and walk like an Egyptian. There is, it is very much like that.
Yeah. Well, the actual movie opens up with these two martial arts masters, these two kung fu masters on this mountaintop, and one, I forget both of their names. But one is a master of the Eagle's Claw, and the other is a master of the Snake Fist. And the Eagle Claw master, who looks almost like a man in drag or something, or like a...
Whoa.
Yeah, well...
I was going to say in Dracula costume.
Oh,
that's
what about Dragula?
There's the Munsters card. No, there was a little like Bram Stoker's Dracula there. Yeah, what is the name of the old man?
The Eagle's Fist?
Beggar.
His name is Pie. Give me a second. I have it written down. There was some
Pie in the Face
names. Yeah.
Well, he's just called Old Man most of the movie, so we can just call him Old Man.
Okay, I'm gonna call him Pie though, because that's his name. But you don't find that out till later. But he's not the one on the mountaintop. It's these two kung fu masters, and this Eagle's Fist or this Eagle's Claw guy goes, "Hey, Eagle's Claw is better than Snake Fist, and I'm going to prove it by killing you, and then also killing all the other people who are practicing the Snake Fist style."
Which is why I bring up Pie, because he Old Man is the last remaining snake style master after this scene.
Fella on the mountain gets killed, and we kind of cut to Old Man, right? Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes.
Yeah, he gets randomly attacked.
Yeah, well, we meet him. He's like hanging out, which is interesting. He's hanging out on a single rope hammock, catching mosquitoes with his bare hands because they're annoying him. He's getting kicked out of his place because he's been refusing to pay rent. And we see a guy reach into a basket, and he gets bitten by a snake. So, guess what? He's probably a master of the Snake Fist. And he gets attacked by like all these like landlords, if you want to call them that.
Yeah, it's like a whimsical fight scene because it's very comedic. I mean, in general, this is an action comedy, but like the way the Old Man does his martial arts. Well, first of all, they have like after almost everything he does, they have like a close up of him, and he's like got that smile, and he's laughing, but he's like doing kind of goofy stuff. Mm-hmm. I will say, all the credit to the actor, whose name I'm not even going to begin to pronounce.
Me and you both.
But this guy, I didn't like this character. He's the wise old man, the Asian, like, I don't know. This character, listen, it's a Hong Kong movie. This character feels like a stereotype. It feels like I'm watching, like, blackface. Or, like, that's what it kind of feels like. This is, like, Jim in Huck Finn. That's what it kind of felt like. And, that's not fair. It's like I'm thinking of all the things that have made fun of or been inspired by this sort of thing. Like, this wise old Asian master guy is probably it's a stock character that's probably been in folktales and stuff. I know it through martial arts movies and stuff, but like this character, and it was just like the way he looked even, it's just like so stereotypical.
Yeah, and I, in contrast, liked the character, but apparently he was so good, right, at portraying this kind of old man beggar that he played the same or a very similar character for the next couple years of his
Drunken
life.
Master. Was
yes,
he in
exactly.
Drunken Master? Yeah,
he was. Yeah,
because Drunken Master is so this is directed by Yin Wu Ping, who
good pronunciation.
I know did Drunken Master, is one of the more influential Hong Kong action movie directors, Shaolin Drunkard. It's actually interesting. He's still around, but he doesn't appear to direct anymore. Now he just does fight choreography, but he's done fight choreography for like Ip Man sequels and stuff like that, like so like recent movies. And to my knowledge, did not direct Drunken Master 2 or The Legend of the Drunken Master, whatever that the sequel's called. It had a couple different names, but that movie, I need to see that movie again. That movie came out in like the early 90s. Has the best fight scene in motion picture history. That movie's amazing. I really need to see it again because it's been 15 years almost since I've seen that.
I don't think I've seen the Drunken Master sequel, but I remember...
Oh, it's so good. I'm not even sure I've seen the original. I think I saw that one thinking it was it was like the original Drunken Master, and then I found out Drunken Master came out in the 70s, and I'm like, yeah, that wasn't 70s Jackie Chan I just saw, but that movie's so good.
Yeah, wait. Was there a scene in the original? Maybe I watched the incorrect one. Was there a scene in the original where he's like... Oh, never mind. I was going to say we're drunk and fighting. And like fighting with a bench. But never mind.
Yeah, I don't know, because Jackie Chan's thing, and we don't see too much of it in this movie, but like one of Jackie Chan's signature moves is to just grab random objects and like incorporate them into fight scenes.
Yeah, which is also what made something like the Rush Hour movie so exciting.
Yes, yeah, exactly. He brings that into the American movies that he's done.
He's playing a character different, like completely different to what he was playing like later in life, where he's this kind of... I should say we meet him in a very Cinderella-esque situation, in the sense that he's like working or like adopted by a kung fu school.
He was an abandoned baby that's been adopted by a kung fu school.
By a school. Who mistreats
but he's
him.
Basically their slave. He gets bullied, and not so much bullied by the kids studying there, the teens, however old they're supposed to be. He gets bullied by the frickin' masters. It's amazing.
Well, and then it's even confusing because I don't think it's ever really said until near the end of the movie, but there is like an actual master of the school, and he's not there. He's away somewhere. So you have these two guys standing in as the masters, or like one is like supposed to be like a top pupil, and the other one is a master who practices dragon style. But yeah, so Jackie Chan is like routinely pulled up like from his cleaning duties to just have the shit kicked out of him by students or by the master, this fake master.
Yeah, to demonstrate moves or for the students to test out their abilities. Yeah.
Yeah, but also too, what's worth noting here is that it's all bullshit. Like they're not actual fighters. They're not
the
very
students
good at
suck.
what they do.
The master is at least
semi-competent,
decent but cowardly, I think is how I would describe him.
Okay.
And I'm talking about the master that's there, the really skinny guy.
Yes.
The other master is pretty competent and not a coward.
And old man Pai shows up in this same town that Jackie Chan is in, and he meets Jackie Chan when... Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah. He decides to sleep out of outside of another kung fu school, and this wealthy magistrate and his son are there, and the son wants to learn kung fu, and he's like this slob of a human.
Yeah.
This kung fu school, which is we later learn is like the Mantis School, they have like this poorly thought out plan where they're going to have a guy demonstrate that he can punch through a bunch of bricks or like karate chop through a bunch of bricks.
Yeah.
And he really injures his hand. And when he goes to shake the hand of like this slovenly kid, the kid realizes that it was all kind of theatrical and less martial artsy. So the kid wants to keep on trying different schools. But the master of this school, he comes out and he sees the old man, Pai, laying there, and he goes, "You're the reason I lost my business." And they just immediately get into a fight. And again, Pai's doing what he did in the previous scene. He's just kind of dodging most of these attacks, and he has this kind of fun, playful style of fighting.
The frequent close-ups of him would show him just kind of like laughing, or he reminds me of like Santa Claus. It's like that jovial kind of old guy. Yeah. But I thought at first, I don't know how old the guy was in this movie. I'm going to look that up. Let's see. When was he?
He died in 1979.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, but he wasn't that old, though. He's in his 60s. Like, he seems like he'd be older. But, yeah, if he died shortly after this, who knows? But he does all this, like, agile stuff. And I'm thinking, like, okay, it's probably a stunt double. And then that's why they have so many close-ups of him, like, laughing, just but I'm not 100% sure because there were definitely moves that looked like it was him.
Yeah, like a lot of the stuff later on in the movie, when we have that training montage, a lot of the stuff he was doing, it looked like him. And also, there's this shot here where, so Jackie Chan's walking by and he sees this kerfuffle going on. So he runs over to help the old man out, even though he doesn't need any help. But it's this really awesome bit where Pi starts using Jackie Chan kind of as a puppet to fight for him. Like he's
this is great, where he would
legs.
just like kick his leg and would
Yeah.
force Jackie Chan to kick his leg out, or
Yeah,
he
there's
would
even
just
one
like
bit where
do
he undoes
things
his
that would make
pants.
him duck.
Yeah, he undoes Jackie Chan's pants as a guy
That
running
one's
towards
great,
him.
yeah.
So he bends down and the guy dives over Jackie Chan. It's so
Yeah.
good. Yeah, so then the two of them run away together after, like...
Jackie Chan, by the way, his name is Chien Fu.
So Jackie and Pi run away, and Jackie takes him back to his school that he's at.
Yeah, because he assumes the guy's this old, helpless, homeless
Yeah,
man.
like
Meanwhile,
he's an old
clearly
hobo
like a
or
martial arts
something, you know?
master, yeah.
And then Pi, when he realizes that Jackie Chan's being mistreated here, he kind of offers his help in training him and teaching him some kung fu.
Initially, it's remote training, though, because he just like leaves instructions. Ready
Yes,
for him.
yeah. He disappears somewhere, and then he leaves like 2-step dance instructions on the floor for Jackie Chan to follow, and some scribbling on the walls. But there's also a great scene right before that where Pi was like, "You got to take this bowl from me." You know, the classic "take the object from the master" scene.
Oh yeah, it reminded me of the in Rocky, or maybe it's in Rocky 2, where he has to grab the chicken.
Oh, and then there's also a character who's really not important, but becomes important at the very end, who's a cook. I forget the cook's
Yeah,
name.
he's the one guy at the school that's sympathetic towards Chien.
Yeah, and he's given him some extra food and stuff. He's
Yeah, he
helping
gives him
patch
food
up
when he's not
beaten up.
supposed to. Yeah, exactly.
Literally the only person in his life that actually likes him, next to Pi, I guess. While Jackie Chan is doing this solo training, we get this kind of weird but funny scene where Pi is walking down this alleyway full of houses, and then he sees this
the
missionary.
Christian missionary who
who had broken up the fight outside of the school with Pi and Jackie
but
Chan.
is really an undercover assassin for
who's like a Russian
the
assassin.
Eagle Claw.
But anyways, but it's a great scene because they lock eyes from down the alley, and then Pi knocks on a woman's door. He's like, can you spare some change for a beggar? And she's like, no, go away. I don't have any time, or I don't have any change for you. And then he says something like, what an old bitch. I hope she rots in hell or something.
Well, and then there's a comedic scene, too, where the priest just knocks on a door. He's pretending to spread the good word, and he's talking to this lady about how she's going to burn in hell, but if she prays to Jesus, she will experience joy. And then she's like, oh, joy, you want to see joy? And then it turns out he's knocked
at
on
a
the door of a
brothel.
brothel, and he's like, oh, no,
And then she pulls him
don't.
in.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's a fun scene.
Well, then it turns out Pi is here in this town because he's looking for one of the Snake Fist masters. And he comes across the house in this alleyway because there's like a painted snake on the doorway. And when he goes in, he only finds the Eagle's Claw master from the beginning of the movie, who immediately recognizes Pi as being the last surviving member of the Snake Fist style. And when Pi does try to run away, this is when we learn that the missionary isn't really a missionary, and he pulls out like a knife and stabs him in the shoulder. But then Pi, using his little nimble old man power, scales up a wall and runs away. And then just so happens to run into Jackie Chan, who, while Pi's doing that, Jackie Chan runs away from his kung fu school in anger because he doesn't let the magistrate's kid beat him up. Instead, he dodges all of his attacks, just like Pi was teaching him how to do in his solo training. And they're like, you gotta get out of here. You fucked this up for us. No extra food for you tonight or whatever. And then Jackie Chan runs away and just runs into Pi in the middle of a field and then takes him to like an abandoned barn or something, to patch him up and nurse him back to health. As Jackie's nursing him back to health, Pi chooses to actually teach Jackie. And he says, I have 3 conditions though. Don't call me teacher. Never show that you know kung fu unless it's essential. And if you see me fighting with somebody else, do not step in. No matter what, don't step in. And Jackie Chan's like, oh, that's kind of like a weird set of rules, but fine. But whereas Pi is like thinking, he's like, I'm going to teach you the snake fist style, but I want to protect you from all the Eagle's Claw assholes.
Yeah, this is dangerous for you to know. I am teaching it to you just for your own personal self-defense against these fucking assholes at the school.
Yeah. And there's really two Eagle's Claw asshole guys. There's the guy who looks like he's wearing makeup, and I forget his name, but I had written
Dracula.
it down. What? Yeah, that one. Dracula. There's also another guy named Sheng Huan, I believe, or Sheng Huan. And he's got like
and
a
that's
long
the one,
ponytail.
and he's like the main boss, right? And he's the one who claims
I thought
to
the
be...
other guy was the main boss.
Who's the one that claims to be the old man's colleague?
Him. Sheng Huan.
Yeah, so I think he's the main guy.
Okay. Anyways, so they start the Snake Fist style training, and it's kind of weird. It doesn't look particularly grueling, but one of the weird and they're normal training scenes, except for one which is kind of weird. It's Jackie grabbing eggs off of the tops of bamboo poles by like snaking his arm around the poles.
Oh yeah, that was kind of neat.
But then there's a pretty funny scene near the end of this training montage where Jackie tries to knock a stool out from under Pi. And he does, but Pi's just like sitting there, like balanced on his leg. And then eventually, after some more fighting, he lets Jackie Chan sit on the stool, and then as soon as he sits, Pi gets up and he flips the stool. Like,
oh yeah,
like it was just a good like, comedic little thing that I thought was great. And then I guess at this point, they're kind of done with training. Back at the Kung Fu school, though, Jackie's putting all of his new skills to the test. Like his teacher comes in and sees him slacking, and instead of cleaning, and he tries to track sand all over the floor or whatever it is, which he had done earlier in the movie. But now Jackie's fast enough that he can stop
this scene
from
was
even touching
great.
the floor.
I loved this scene. This is so amusing to me.
Oh, and it's just so impressive because they actually did it. That he was swinging around and throwing these like cloths under his feet as he was walking.
Yeah, and it's as we said earlier too. It's incredibly acrobatic. It's nothing is just like, oh, he just moves the rags that he steps on it. It's always like something impressive.
Yes, yeah. And then at the end of the scene, he says to the guy, he's like, "Oh, master, you have to be careful." And then he throws like a brush, like a scrub brush out across the floor under the guy's foot as he's walking, and he wipes out and falls and hurts himself. Then all of this is like Jackie's skills kind of have to be put to the test because this champion from this Kung Fu championship shows up, and he's from like the Mantis school, which we had seen earlier in the movie. And he comes to challenge either the best fighters or the master of this school because he got congratulations messages from everybody from all the schools except for this specific school. So he's coming to teach them manners. It's clear right off the bat that he's way better than the phony teacher and the phony top student, and he just easily kicks the shit out of him. He puts on like such a great show, though, that all the students at that school are like, fuck this. That guy's way cooler. Let's go to that school. So everybody leaves the school, goes to the Mantis school, and after they do that, the real master of Jackie's school comes back, and he sees that his school's totally empty. And Jackie has to explain what's happened, and the two of them rush off to the Mantis school, where the champion challenges Jackie's actual master to fight. But this guy, he seems to hold his own for a while against the champion, but he is ultimately beaten. That's when Jackie steps in and saves the day. He kind of actually, I think he literally throws a shoe and hits him in the face. And he's like, "Are you trying to kill my master? What are you doing?"
What is this, George W. Bush?
Yeah, except neither of them hit him in the face. He dodged him like a real man.
Yeah, that was a completely overlooked part of that, is how quick and agile the president was when he would have had no reason to know that a shoe was about to be thrown at him to just like that's actually shoes. Like genuinely amazing.
But if he had Snake Fist style, maybe he could have fought back, just like Jackie does. He pulls out his Snake Fist.
I don't know if
style.
that would have looked so great on an international level, but then again, what that George W. Bush did really looked good,
Very true.
If the president of the United States just beat the shit out of some journalist, nowadays that president's approval rating goes up. I don't know about back then, but yeah. If Joe Biden just started wailing on someone like Nolan Ryan on Robin Ventura, that would be pretty amazing.
Well, unluckily for Jackie Chan in this movie, as he's fighting this champion, and he's pulling out his Snake Fist, Sheng, I think that was his name that I said earlier, he's just watching. Like, he just happened to be passing by the school. Yeah, he just happens to
be walking by. And the old man is walking by, too, notices him, and then goes and hides. But he had seen enough to know that cat's out of the bag.
Yes, yeah.
Which ends up being
Absolutely.
literal later on, but that Jackie Chan has revealed that he knows the snake fist. Because he even
Yes.
names it. And then Jackie Chan's got these, this is some of the comedy that didn't really work for me. Like, some of the comedy is really good, just like the physical humor. But Jackie Chan does this, he's got these kind of one-liners, these snake-related one-liners. And it's like, oh, but this snake has teeth, or careful, this snake has venom. And it's like, it all felt like stupid bullshit that you would just throw in a dub.
Yes.
But there are shots of Jackie Chan's mouth, so he must have said something like this. There are one-liners. I don't know if these were the one-liners, but...
And there's the one-liner that he uses, I think, twice in the movie, where he hits a guy in the nuts, and he goes, "This is finding the hidden snake," or something. You know, or I call this...
Oh, that's kind of good when he
I mean, I like
when he fingers him in the nuts or whatever it is that he does, whatever you would say. I know that's not the right term.
I know, but I know what you mean. Like, it looks like he's fingers him in the nuts. But Shang tails Jackie Chan to Pai's hideout, and then Shang tries to trick him into believing that he's also a snake fist style master, and he beats Jackie in a fight to prove it.
Yeah, this went on a little too long. The point of this scene is that he reveals that, yes, he does know the snake style, and thus Jackie Chan could trust him, but he also overpowers him with the eagle's claw. But it goes on for so long, and Jackie just keeps going back. He's getting his ass handed to him.
The fighting isn't bad. It's just like, okay...
No, of course, it's pretty good. The scene just goes on for too long.
Yeah, I mean, the first time he fell down, he could have said, "Okay, I give in. I get it. You're a master. Great." But Shang says to Jackie, he goes, "Hey, let me know when Pai comes back, but don't tell him because I want to surprise him." And Jackie's like, "Yeah, okay, sure."
Which should be very suspicious. But the whole point of this, of the Jackie Chan, of the Chien character, I actually think the movie did a really good job of this, with the exception of one huge mistake, which I will talk about when we get to our opinions on this movie. But
okay.
The movie does a really good job with its like protagonist, and it's the classic hero's journey. He's this down on his luck kid. We don't really get a sense of age. It feels like he's playing younger than he is, like he's maybe supposed to be like 15 or 16 or something, but who knows? Jackie Chan is very young, but he's maybe 20, and he's naive. But this is like classic. It's an archetypal story with him. It's Star Wars. Honestly, that's what I was thinking about when I saw this movie. And yes, this came out after Star Wars, but it's influenced, I'm sure, by a tradition that also influenced Star Wars. You get the wise old Obi-Wan Kenobi guy who introduces this mystical power of the snake fist to this young man who's really just not in great shape. He's just got a rough life, and this is his opportunity to get out of that. This is his opportunity to stand up to bullies, and it does start, this is just standing up to bullies, but obviously becomes something bigger. I think the movie did a really good job with that, and I think Jackie Chan, his comedic sensibilities are really good for that. I mean, I know there's a famous, I think it was in regards, maybe it was not even with one specific film, but I think it might have been with the second Drunken Master movie from the 90s. It's a famous Roger Ebert piece where he compared Jackie Chan to Buster Keaton, and is like that he's like, he is the new silent comedy, physical comedy guy. It's the same type of thing. Buster Keaton also famous for his stunts, like the time when he's like hanging off the back of a streetcar. Mm-hmm. Jackie Chan is a master of physical comedy. He is a master of martial arts, obviously, but he also does a really good job of, early on in the movie, playing it like he has no idea what he's doing. And that is funny.
Yes, yeah.
When it's Pai, like, forcing him, puppeting him into doing these things. That is really funny. It's a fantastic performance. It's a comedic tour de force from Jackie Chan.
Even in this movie, scenes that aren't really supposed to be comedic, like training montages or when he's fighting the champion or whoever, he does there's a really interesting move that it genuinely makes me smile, because I think it's such a funny thing that he does, but it looks so amazing on camera. And it's when he drops to the floor. And
he does the
and scoots around. Yeah.
Yes. I noticed because there's a moment when Ping does that, or not Ping, Pai. Ping is the director.
Yes.
When Pai does that, and it looked sped up. I don't believe it's sped up when Jackie Chan does it.
No, I don't think so either. And he does it several times in this movie. And
Yeah.
every time he does it, it's almost like what Jackie Chan does. It makes you smile out of like wonder. You're like, holy shit, how did he do that?
It's like watching a magician.
Yes,
honestly.
yeah, that's exactly it.
You're in just as much awe. You have no idea how the hell a human being can do this.
Yes.
It's an illusion, except it's not.
He's just a strong, powerful, amazing person.
Yeah. It's I mean, listen, Penn Jillette can't do this shit.
That
I'd
was
like to
good.
see his fat ass try.
But what does Jackie do with this new fight that he's done? Well, he wants to go home and read up on his new snake style book that Pi had left him. Because Pi had left him like a note in a book. He's like, I'm going to be gone for a little while. Practice on your own. Here's this book. When he gets home, he finds that his book has been like torn to shreds. And he has a cat. And he goes, that goddamn cat. And then in the corner of the room, there's like a cobra. There's this cat in the corner. And it's being like attacked by a snake. And when he shows up, he's like, come on, cat, you can do it, you can get it. And the cat kills the snake, and he's like, yeah, good job. And then Jackie puts two and two together. He's like, hey, that guy that I fought does like this weird claw thing with his hands. And also, this cat is very powerful with its claws. It can kill things. So he goes, why don't I combine this kind of claw thing into my snake fist style? So he does.
Yeah. Now, am I mistaken in... I felt like they went back and forth between cat's paw and cat's claw. Was it always claw and I just misheard?
I think it was always claw.
Either way, I absolutely hate that whenever he does the cat's claw, we get the
like,
same
meow.
cat sound effect each time, and it's like two distressed meows, and it's too long, and it's the same sound.
Yes.
That was annoying, but that was like just the Hong Kong movies of this era. They just had really like overdone, kind of obnoxious sound effects, like with all the like, you know, like you know when they're throwing punches or that's just I guess just a weird cat sound effect is part of that style too. I guess why not? I don't know.
Either way, it's fucking dumb, but I love it.
Could we get a different sound effect each time? Is really where I come down on this, but
Yeah, or why couldn't you do like a cooler sounding cat? Why it's like a meow, and then Jackie's kind of like half hunched with like these little cat claw hands
jumping through the air or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, while he's teaching himself a new style, Pi meets Dragula and kind of anticlimactically kills him. And then heads back to town, where he shows up and Jackie's like, oh my god, it's so good to see you. I missed you. My training's going really well, yada, yada, yada. And he asks for some tea from the cook. And the cook, it turns out, is a secret Eagle Claw member. And he puts some poison into their tea.
I don't think he was always. It's like they recruited him when they knew where Jackie Chan was. I'm assuming.
Well, anyways, he puts some poison into their tea, gives it to Jackie and Pi, and then we see them drink tea. And Jackie gets up to leave for something, and he runs into Shang. And
Well, yeah,
goes,
he's going to go tell him that, hey, the master's
that
now
was
here.
it.
The
Yes.
teacher's back.
Yeah, but Shang's already there waiting, pretty much. And when Jackie goes back into this courtyard that they were sitting in, Pai's gone. And Shang sees that he's scaled up the wall. And so he jumps up the wall too, and Jackie tries to follow them. But he can't, he's definitely not as fast as them. And there's this great little comedic bit here where he tries to run up the wall like they do. He fails, and then he backs out of frame, and you think he's going to run again, but he just runs up to the wall with a ladder. And then he scoots on up the ladder. Jackie gets left behind. Like, those two are so fast and far ahead. But he gets left behind, and he ends up fighting the missionary who we said is actually a Russian assassin. And it's nothing super exciting. He just kills the guy. Though, I think, when, like, the guy swings into the scene and he cuts Jackie Chan's arm? I think that actually happened. Because I was reading two things. Jackie got sliced by a sword, which I think that's the only time.
Well, it would
there's a
be
sword
this
in the
scene,
movie.
yeah.
And he lost a tooth when Shang, the guy playing Shang, actually kicked him in the face by accident.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and as far as Jackie Chan injuries on set go, these are minor. Again, he almost died in one of the movies that we're going to be doing later this season.
This is when Jackie first employs his new, cat claw technique, and he kills the Russian dude by grabbing him in the face and then punching him in the balls, which is pretty cool. And by this point, Pi has started fighting Shang, and he's not doing too well against Shang. And Shang's like, oh, you're slow, you're old, you're weak. And just before Shang's about to deliver the final blow to Pi, Jackie swoops in. Now he's using a super cool new style on Shang. And he also defeats Shang, but with a snake and a cat to the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, not much to talk about. It's just lots of Jackie Chan jumping around doing flips over him. Yeah,
every time he does something, yeah.
And then, when you think it's all over, the cook shows up randomly in the middle of the field. And he tries to stab Jackie Chan, but then Pai grabs the knife and then snaps it in half. And then the cook says, well, joke's on you, I poisoned the tea, so you're going to die anyways. You guys only have
a few minutes left.
Yeah, so then they both pretend to die, and then hop back up and kick the shit out of the cook.
Yeah.
And they're like, and Jackie's like, joke's on you, you didn't know that we liked cold tea, which was actually set up earlier in the movie.
We see this in a flashback, they poured out the tea and then just grabbed their own. But yeah, it was established earlier when they were drinking tea.
Yes, yeah, because Pai was like, it's too hot, meh. So then, now the cook's dead, because he got hit in the face and or balls, like everybody else. And as they're walking away, Pai looks at Jackie Chan and he goes, hey, I don't like your cat claw style. And Jackie's like, well, what do you think I should call it? And Pai just says, call it Snake in Eagle's Shadow. And that's it. That's how the movie ends. So Patrick, what'd you think about Snake in Eagle's Shadow, or In the Eagle's Shadow?
I liked it quite a bit. The tone's a bit inconsistent because it is, for much of the film, a very enjoyable action comedy, and then it gets pretty serious at the end. There's not a whole lot of comedy, which is, whatever. I guess that's just going to happen if you have actual stakes. Again, Jackie Chan is a comedic genius in terms of the physical comedy. You're in awe watching him do what he does, the way he moves, and it's not always the fighting, because it's scenes like where he uses these incredible moves just to put a rag underneath the master's step.
He makes everything look so easy. Every single movement that he does, he makes it look so effortless.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's where I mentioned earlier, I have a problem with this movie. I think this is a good movie. I think this is a very, very good hero's journey type movie. Again, I compared it to Star Wars. It's this down on his luck guy meets this wise old master who teaches him this new art that changes his life and moves him on to bigger and better things. It's the Force. It's the snake style or whatever. Mm-hmm. Here's the problem, though. For me to believe that Jackie Chan is a loser who gets his ass handed to him by the teacher and all the students, he needs to wear sleeves. He needs to hide
because he's fucking
arms.
ripped.
He looks like 2001 Luis Gonzalez. It's just because he has no body fat and his arms are ripped and he's in a sleeveless outfit. Again, going back to, I have no idea how much of what Pai does is actually performed by that actor. Turns out he wasn't as old as he appears to be in the movie. But for all I know, that guy is insanely ripped. But you can't tell because he wears the loose-fitting, long, old Chinese traditional clothes. If Jackie Chan wore something like that, those early scenes to me would be so much more believable. It's just his arms are incredible. Who's beating up on this guy? That's BS. I don't buy it for a second.
And he's you can tell he's much bigger than everybody else.
Yeah, it's just so that, again, great hero's journey tale, but a little unbelievable just on that front alone. I don't know. It's to nitpick because it doesn't ruin the movie, and it's just it's Jackie Chan. That's just what he was like, and it's just a little bit better costume design would have done the movie a lot of good, I think.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I somewhat agree. I actually really liked this movie a lot because I haven't seen that many Jackie Chan movies, to be honest. But at the moment, this is easily one of my favorites that I've seen.
Okay.
I don't know. I just liked it a lot. I liked the story. I liked the plot of Jackie Chan just having to figure stuff out on his own. And he came up with a new martial art. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just think it's great. And again, just the movements, all of his movements throughout this movie. You're almost entranced watching him. You're
yeah, exactly. Again,
it's just amazing. And there's no other way to describe it.
I compared it to a magician.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, it is. You have no idea how he does what he does. Mm-hmm. It's difficult to believe that what he's doing is being done by a human person.
And he's just amazing. I think he's an amazing person, and it's kind of a shame that I feel like Hollywood never really cared that much about Jackie Chan.
Hollywood did what they could with Jackie Chan. He's clearly better suited for non-Hollywood roles. The movies he made here were arguably leaned a bit too heavy into the comedy, but all that having been said, I think the Rush Hour, making him a part of a buddy cop thing, I think is pretty inspired. And, I think Jackie Chan... I don't know the exact numbers to back this up, but obviously we know China is the biggest country in the world in terms of population. Mm-hmm. Jackie Chan's got to be like the biggest, greatest, whatever superlative adjective you want to use, movie star of all time, right? I mean, he's right up there. Like, Ebert compared him to, like, Buster Keaton. And part of the universality of those silent movie stars, the silent movie comedians, Charlie Chaplin, those guys, was that they did everything without sound, so you didn't need to translate anything. Jackie Chan, so much of what he does is physical that, like, yeah, you might be watching it with subtitles, or you might be watching a dubbed version, but it almost doesn't matter because the physical stuff that he's doing is what you're there to see. Mm-hmm. He's truly amazing. He had a really long career. Again, the Hollywood portion of his career is a bit underwhelming in the grand scheme of things, but keep in mind that's after 3 decades, give or take, of a fantastic Hong Kong movie career. We only had about 3-4 years of Bruce Lee. Like, mm-hmm. Jackie Chan, we had 30 years of him doing his thing, and the Police Story movies are great. And what's that one, Wheels on Meals or whatever?
Yeah, Wheels on Meals.
You've been telling me about that one, that how great that one was. I haven't seen it, but
yeah, well, it's listen, I don't think it's as good as this, but it's fun. It leans more into the comedy than
and then the Drunken Master movies, of course. Yes. And the Drunken Master movies are like a showcase for, once again, for his physical comedy, because the actual style, the drunken boxing style, is so, like, funny. The fight scene I'm thinking of from that second Drunken Master movie is probably the best fight scene ever. I want to say I don't even remember watching it from the movie. I saw it on YouTube, like, I don't know, 5 years ago, and I'm like, holy shit, how was this not my favorite movie ever? This is amazing. I don't know. Snake in the Eagle's Shadow is quite good. There's a lot to really like.
Yeah, even the warring kung fu schools, that's fun.
Yeah, there's no, like, individual fight scene that truly blows me away, but what blows me away is just, like, not the training montage. Like, Jackie Chan using his martial arts just to avoid things is amazing. Like, when that fat guy, when the magistrate's son is fighting him, and, like, stuff like that. That's some of my favorite stuff in the movie. This is our first Jackie Chan movie. God damn it, I hope we have a lot more.
Yeah, me too.
We have one later this season, as I keep mentioning, but God, he is so much fun to watch.
So I guess I'll say, Patrick, which movie did you like better? The Raid or Snake in the Eagle's Shadow?
I'll say The Raid. It's pretty close. Even though both films are martial arts heavy, they are different styles of action movies. Snake in the Eagle's Shadow is much more Asian, I'll say. Like, The Raid is an American action movie that just happens to have been, or it's a Western action movie that happens to have been made in Asia and have Thai martial arts and stuff, right? Because, I mean, it's directed by a Westerner. It's directed by a Welsh dude.
Yeah.
There's more guns, there's more violence in that movie, and that's not necessarily why I enjoyed it more. But just, the action was so intense. Like, there's action, there's no comedy. Snake in the Eagle's Shadow, there's action and there's comedy with the action. Some of that works really well, and some of it not as much. Overall, like, The Raid just being, like, so as intense as it is from, like, beginning to end, I think was just a bit more compelling to me than this action comedy that kind of loses comedy about, 3/4 of the way through and just becomes this, like, action thing. And then there's some comedy because the cat noise is so annoying. But yeah, I slightly prefer The Raid. It's relatively close for me. Jim, I have a feeling you'll disagree with me, but I'm curious to hear. What say you?
I slightly, ever so slightly, prefer Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. I like The Raid, but I think, honestly, like, it all comes down to the action. Both movies, the selling point for both movies...
That's all The Raid is action.
Yes, yeah.
If you want a little bit more, more character, more comedy, more charm, that's Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. Like...
exactly.
I'm arguing against myself here, but
thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the help, because I wouldn't have been able to say it as coherently as you did. Yeah, I think both movies where the action or the physicalities of it take precedence. I just have to pick Snake and the Eagle's Shadow. While all the action and fight scenes in The Raid are awesome, it just doesn't get better than Jackie Chan doing stuff.
I get it.
You know?
Snake and the Eagle's Shadow has more star power. That's true. There's more personality that comes through. The protagonist comes through from the actor.
And I like the comedy aspect of it. And again, I think I rewound.
See, I did and didn't. I think that's ultimately why I chose against it. I found like some of the comedy worked really well, some of it didn't for me, and that's kind of why.
For me, most of the physical comedy worked well in the sense that like when Jackie Chan goes to knock him off the bench, like I said earlier, and Pai's not even sitting on the bench; he's just propped on his leg, and then he just and it's like a shot from behind Pai, and he spins around and he smacks him with his pipe. and then when Jackie Chan falls off the bench right after, like I like stuff like that. That just speaks to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's not that The Raid is a bad movie. It's just
no, of course not.
I just love Jackie Chan and watching him do things because he's just amazing to watch.
He is. I think what I'm missing, and this isn't ultimately why I chose The Raid, but like what I'm missing is the Jackie Chan stunt experience.
Yes.
Yeah, he does all the physical stuff, which I guess you could say is stunts, but it's not like the death-defying type stuff that makes some of his movies so amazing to watch.
No, I agree. Even that too. I think I just like the story of Snake and the Eagle's Shadow more. I found it quaint at times and kind of silly.
Yeah, see, this story, again, I like all the hero's journey stuff. The story with the dueling martial arts schools was like so archetypal, so Chinese. I wasn't really into it. Again, I what I said about the old man character, it's like this feels like somebody in Yellowface. I know it's not, but like it feels like it's so stereotypical, and that was kind of the story too.
Yeah.
But there's barely a story in The Raid, so who cares?
Yeah, I agree with you.
So how do you think this functions as a drive-in double feature?
I think it works pretty well, surprisingly. Or maybe even unsurprisingly, because again...
yeah.
Well, you know, it's two movies.
I would reverse the order, though.
Oh, if we reverse the order? I don't know.
No, yeah, you start out lighthearted, not super violent.
I'd rather end lighthearted. I'd rather go through
you
the
end
super violent
violent
slog.
You end hyper violent, and that's a good way to go out on, I think.
You don't want to end with cat noises in midair?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
I think it works, and I mean, because again, you have one movie that's famous for its action, all that exciting stuff that's going on in it, and then you have another movie starring somebody who's famous for his action, or actions, and I think that's pretty neat. That's a pretty neat matchup.
Well, yeah, and you also see, like, the evolution of... I talked about this last episode, actually, but, like, see the evolution of action movies. Again, if we were to reverse the order, you see the evolution of Asian action movies. Asian action movies, as the ones that get any kind of traction in the U.S., are martial arts films. They're usually period pieces, which this one, you never really set a time period down. I don't think we ever see a car. You get the sense it's a period piece. Mm-hmm. Snake and the Eagle's Shadow. But you get that movie, and then it's like, okay, what's Asian action cinema now? It's blending martial arts in with this hyper-violent gun.
Yeah, well, instead of kung
stuff.
fu, it's now gun fu, right?
Yeah, but I mean, even that, like, the gun fu is like a 90s thing, 90s into the 2000s. I don't know if this is truly a gun fu movie. Maybe it sort of is. I don't know. So I think both films are very influential as far as films of their genre go. This Snake and the Eagle's Shadow, not only the birth of Jackie Chan, so to speak, as a leading man, but like this movie, the story influenced a lot of other martial arts movies, including The Legend of the Drunken Master. And The Raid, we're still seeing the impacts of it on Western cinema. So I think that's, again, that's my argument for switching the order. But I do think it's a very good double feature. And it's a good one, even if we don't switch the order. I would just rather switch them.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I'm gonna walk hand in hand with you on that. I think I agree.
All right. Here's what we've got coming up next time. We've got another Asian action movie. although only one this time. Oh. And it's from Japan, which has not been represented in a period of time now. So we've got Lone Wolf and Cub, Sword of Vengeance. Of course, the Lone Wolf and Cub movies, it was a manga, I think. Oh, okay. And then the movies, it's just a guy with a bad haircut walking around with a baby in a carriage. Seems to be, from what I know, seems to have been completely and utterly copied in The Mandalorian. I think because that's the little Baby Yoda. That's like very much. So we've got that, and then we've got an old Giallo movie that I know I've seen, but I don't really remember. Black Belly of the Tarantula.
What a great name.
Giallo titles are always fun, and a lot of them use animals. Barbara Boucher's in it. Oh my goodness, one of the most beautiful women who has ever lived. Claudine Auger from Thunderball.
Oh yes,
is also in it. Music by Ennio Morricone and distributed by MGM. Interesting. So.
Oh, so a
Barbara
real
Bach's
movie.
also in it. So two Bond girls. It's a real movie, but it's Italian. It's Giallo, and you know it's going to be sleazy. I'm just, I'm assuming because the Italian Giallo films, those are about as sleazy as it gets. This side of sexploitation, and oftentimes there was a finer line between those two than you would think. But got Lone Wolf and Cub, 1972, Black Belly the Tarantula, 1971. Make sure, talking to both Jim and potential listeners here, make sure you are watching the correct Lone Wolf and Cub movie, because there have been probably 5-6 of them. There's also another movie that I don't remember the title, but it was released in like the late 80s as like a catch-all Lone Wolf and Cub movie. And it was a clip show from the other movies, but it was released in the US as like its own standalone thing. So make sure you're not watching that movie, whatever the hell that's called. So Lone Wolf and Cub, Sword of Vengeance, which has been on Max. That's where I saw it originally. I think all of the Lone Wolf and Cub movies are on there. And Black Belly the Tarantula, don't know exactly where it is, but look for it on Prime or Tubi. They're usually good for some random sleazy giallos, so it might even be on Shudder. Shudder carries a decent amount of giallos here and there, but I want to say that rotation changes a lot. So that's what we got going on next time. In the meantime, if you like what you hear, check us out on Patreon, where you can get early access to all of our episodes, as well as access to extended cuts of the episodes and our commentary tracks, which we record roughly monthly. Our most recent one, which I still haven't edited as of the time of recording this, Silence the Lambs. We also did Men in Black recently.
Oh, I forgot about
James
both
Bond
of those.
movies, a couple of the Friday the 13th movies. Just a lot of random stuff that sometimes has been on the podcast,
Lord of the Rings.
Sometimes hasn't been. We did the first Lord of the Rings, yes. Might be doing the second one soon.
Are there lots of Lord of the Rings movies in theaters around you right now?
I think there were like a few weeks ago.
Oh, I didn't have any here up north of the border.
Well, hopefully you at least saw Fall Guy.
No, was it good though? Was it good?
Oh my god, it's so good. Fall Guy
Is it really?
is like the best thing ever, yeah.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not.
No, it is. It's amazing. It's an amazing film.
Okay. Okay.
I enjoyed it so much. That was a wonderful cinematic experience. That was the best experience I've had in the theater probably since I saw 2001 in IMAX with you, which might be the best experience I've ever had.
Oh,
in the
yeah, that was fun, dude. I remember that. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. That was back in 1968. So anyways, we'll see you next time, guys. Take care.
Bye.